You are the most important person in your entire world. How do we know? Well, you spend 99% of your time thinking about yourself.
Hey there! It's hard to find good help for many people today. With so much information, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, and that you don't have any way to sift through the noise. Luckily, motivational speakers can help. Subscribe to us for endless motivation.
So you are the most important person. But here's the point. How important you feel you are determines the entire quality of your life. When you feel that you're important and valuable, when you like yourself and respect yourself, you set bigger goals for yourself, you persist longer, you accomplish more, and more than anything else, the more you like yourself, the happier you are. The more you like yourself, the more you like other people, and the more they like you. So everything in life, and this was a great insight for me as a young man, everything in life can be measured by whether or not it increases your happiness. The only real measure in life is how happy are you. It's not how much money you earn, or it's not the car you drive, but are you a thoroughly happy person? So I began studying this subject early in my career, and I was amazed to find that your self-esteem is like the reactor core of a nuclear generator. It's the reactor core of your emotions, and your self-esteem determines the entire quality of your life. So say these words. Say, I like myself. Now, so when you say this to yourself throughout the day, every time you say it, you smile, and it makes you happy. And when you feel happy, you treat other people better, and you're more happy, and you're more successful. So I began studying the subject, and what I found is that the other side of self-esteem is a feeling of personal power. When you feel powerful, when you feel confident, when you feel that you can set and achieve your goals, when you feel that you can be successful, then your self-esteem goes up and your self-image improves and you feel happy about yourself. And so this feeling of personal power comes from the things you do and the way you do it. And I'm going to give you a series of steps that you can take to dramatically increase your sense of personal power. Now, the more powerful you feel, the more you like yourself. The more you like yourself, the more self-confidence you have. The more self-confidence you have, the bigger goals you set, and the more you persist, and the more that you achieve. And everything starts with what's happening inside of yourself. So here's an interesting question. Which comes first, the thought or the emotion? Well, when I first learned this, I was quite amazed that it's always the thought. It's the thought that comes first, and it's the way that you interpret this thought to yourself that determines the emotion. If something happens and you interpret it in a positive way, you feel happy. If something happens and you interpret it in a negative way, you feel negative. Now, the reason I say this is that because today in Russia we are going through an interesting time. There's a Chinese curse that says, may you live in interesting times. And we're living in interesting times. For the last 3 or 4 days, I've been traveling around Russia speaking on crisis management, crisis intervention, because many people are saying that we have a crisis. But in Chinese, they have a characteristic, and the characteristic that means crisis also means opportunity. So today, we have one of the greatest opportunities in human history. More people are going to earn more money and live better lives in the future in Russia than has ever been possible in all of human history. Yes, there are problems. The economy will go up and down as it has for hundreds of years, but there are more possibilities and opportunities for you in the future than have ever existed before. However, they will be different than the opportunities of the past. Many people are so busy watching what happened in the past, they don't realize that the real opportunities are in the future. Now, here's a lesson that I learned, is never worry about things that you cannot change. And you cannot change a past event. There are many things in our world that we cannot change. So don't waste any time worrying about things you can't change. Focus on the things that you can change. And the only thing that you can control is the way you think. If you think differently, you feel and you act differently. If you feel and act differently, you get different results and you achieve different goals. So you'll find that top people throughout history are always focusing on the opportunities of tomorrow, whereas average people are always thinking about the problems of the past. All the psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors in the world are helping people talk about their past and what happened in the past and why they feel unhappy about the past. But you can't change the past. The only thing you can do with the past is learn from it and then let it go. So you learn from the past and let it go, and then you turn toward the future. Everybody can become wealthy. What you need is a dependable source of cash flow. That's really important. And Life Advantage is a wonderful source of cash flow, because all you have to do is just pump the well and the cash flow just pours down. Just keep filling the buckets, keep filling the buckets. So then the question is, what do you do with the cash flow? And that's a whole nother thing. So I'm not going to talk to you about that, but what I found was that there were 21 secrets. And so I recorded these and I gave them as talks and so on. Everybody loves the subject of becoming wealthy. And people started to come back to me after as little as a year and say, because of your talk, I'm wealthy now. I'm a millionaire now. And they would come back and they had their faces were shining, and sometimes they had tears in their eyes. Because I struggled and struggled and struggled. 1 year after I listened to your talk and began to practice those things, I became wealthy. Here's a couple of ideas, and they're wonderful thing is they're not complicated. I'm not asking you to learn rocket science or anything. All you have to do is do simple things. What they found in the first major studies of thousands of self-made millionaires, they said, well, what is your secret? What did you do differently? And they all said something similar. And 87% of them, according to Forbes, are self-made. These are people who started with nothing. Many of them were immigrants. They came to this country with nothing, and they started working, and they started doing certain things in a certain way, which we'll talk about, and they became, first of all, millionaires. Here's a one-liner for you, because many of you are already millionaires, is that the first million is hard, but the second million is inevitable. And when I learned that, and of course the reason for that is this, it's not, as Jim Rohn used to say, he said, it's not becoming a millionaire that's important, it's the person that you must become in order to become a millionaire. You have to become a completely different person. You have to develop character beyond 99% of the people in the world. You have to develop honesty and discipline and quality relationships and the willingness and the ability to work and set priorities and all kinds of stuff, because without that, nothing is possible. So once you earn your first million, then you are the person who can earn a lot of money, and the second million is not, it's never easy. Never easy, but it's easier. The first million is really hard. The second million, not so much. So I found that there were 21 secrets. The first one of all is dream big dreams. I couldn't believe it. Every single person who finally made it said the turning point in their life, they were driving down the road of life, not making much progress, which is that 80-20 rule that you hear. 80% of people make 20% of the money, and 20% of the people make 80% of the money. And what happens at a certain point in life, they change and go on a different road. And here's the turning point. It is make a decision. Make a decision that I'm going to become wealthy. I'm going to become a millionaire. And I will work hard, long hours. I will sacrifice. I will pay the price. I will do everything that is necessary, because you have a millionaire maker organization right here. The sole focus of this job is many wonderful benefits for users of the product, but the sole focus of this is for you to become wealthy by becoming successful, so that you can do all the wonderful things that you want to do for yourself and your family. So make a decision that, by gum, I'm going to do it. And I realized at the age of 36 that I'd wished and hoped and prayed, but I never made a decision. I thought, oh yeah, maybe someday it'll happen. Maybe there'll be a miracle on something. So I bought penny stocks or mining stocks, and I did all kinds of stuff, and not a darn thing happened. And then I found that the two things that millionaires say, number one is I was not more talented or smarter. I didn't get better grades than other people. He said, but I was willing to work harder than anyone else. I was willing to work harder than anyone else. I was willing to work harder, start earlier, work harder, stay later than anyone else. And you know, self-made millionaires on average work about 59 hours a week. They work about 6 days a week at 10 hours a day, or 7 or 5 days a week at 12 hours. There are very few wealthy people who work 5 days a week. In fact, there probably aren't any. They may work 5 days a week, but it's way after they've achieved their financial goals. The second thing they found is that they were frugal. Is they earned the money, but they didn't spend it all. Is they saved the money. There's a wonderful line, and the line says that when you turn toward the sunshine, the shadows fall behind you. When you look toward the future and all the possibilities for your life in the future, you automatically become happy. The negative events of the past that you can't control fall behind you. And that is your job. Now, I've spoken on this subject all over the world, but there is a characteristic of top people. And by the way, you are some of the top people in Russia today. You are in the top 10%. And why do I say that? It's because statistically, only the top 10% of adults will ever come to a seminar like this. Only the top 10%. The other 90% in their entire lives will never come to a seminar like this. Many of you have had to sacrifice time, you've had to pay money, you've had to suffer inconvenience, you've had to wait a long time, but you are here. And that means that you are either in the top 10% or you intend to be in the future, because you're here. And the things that you're going to learn from me and from the other speakers in the next 2 days are some of the greatest ideas that you can use to create a wonderful future for yourself. And remember, the only thing in the world you can control is your own thinking. And if you control your own thinking, the way you think about events, you control how you feel and how you act and the future of your life. So one of the questions that we ask is, what is the most valuable and highest paid work that you do? And when I first heard this question, I didn't know the answer, but then I learned that the highest and most valuable work you do is thinking. And the reason this is so important is because of the word consequences. When I began studying time management many years ago and began writing books and articles, I came across this word, consequences. And it changed my life. What it said is that the consequences of an event determine whether or not it's valuable or unimportant. So therefore, if an event or an action has great potential consequences, it's important. And if something you do has low or no potential consequences, it's not important. So what is the difference between top people and bottom people? You've heard of the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule says that in every society, 20% of the people earn 80% of the money. It also says that in every industry, 20% of the companies earn 80% of the profits. Now this is true worldwide, and it's been true for hundreds of years. So in your society, our society, you have a choice. Do you want to be in the top 20% or do you want to be in the bottom 80%? Now everybody starts off in the bottom 80%, and then they either make a decision to be in the top 20% or they do not make that decision. And it's one of the most important decisions you make in terms of consequences. So something is important if it has big potential consequences. Something is unimportant if it has low or no potential consequences. How many people here would like to double their income? Right. If I could show you a simple way to double your income, would you give it a try? So I'm going to give you a very simple technique to double your income. Now, if you increase your productivity and your performance and your output by 25% per year, you will double your income in 3 years. Now that means 2% per month. If you become 2% more productive or better at your work every month, that's 25% per year. That's double your income in 3 years. However, once you do it, you can do it again. And you can double your income again and again. And the highest paid people in our society increase their income 10, 20, 30% each year. Because because they're constantly becoming more productive. So here's a very simple technique, and I will give you 7 more. Very simple technique. Imagine that there's 2 types of work that you do. There's work that we will call work number 1, all right? And this work is work that has big potential consequences. If you do this and you do it well, it makes a big difference in your life and your family and everything else. The other type of work you do are what we call number 2 work, and this work has no potential consequences. So the first category of work moves you toward your most important goals faster than anything else. This other type of work does not move you towards your goals, and even worse, it moves you away from your goals. All the examples of time that you waste doing things of no value. So here's a simple way to become one of the highest paid and most productive people in society is do only number 1 tasks. Do only those things that are moving you every day toward the goals that you say you want to achieve. You want to earn more money, be happier, be healthier, move up in your business, have a nice house and a car, travel. Only do those things all day long. If you'll only do those things, the things that have great potential consequences, it transforms your life. I had a banker once who was very helpful to me, and I still remember. His name was Alan. He said, we do banking for owners of small and medium-sized businesses, and we can always tell when the business is going to get into trouble. Is the owner of the business decides to take all his money and build a new house. He said, you can always tell because it's too soon. Is they spend their money too soon. If they waited another 5 years, they could have bought or built a house without a problem. But what they do is they start to get some progress and they start to go a little bit wild. So your job is to become a self-made millionaire, and LifeVantage's job is to help you get there, and my job is to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you the recipes and the formulas that you can use. And sometimes it just takes one choice. And remember, 87% of millionaires and billionaires are self-made. They started with nothing. And nobody's smarter than you, and nobody's better than you. Nobody's smarter than you, nobody's better than you. If somebody else can do it, especially with all the disadvantages that many people start off with, if someone else can do it, you can do it as well. That's the proof. Abraham Lincoln once said that some become wealthy is proof that all can become wealthy. It's just the very fact that a person does well, it's proof. They started with nothing and they became wealthy. Well, there's the proof. You can do it as well. Just do the same things over and over again. I wrote 22 books, which had 21 great ideas to achieve this particular goal. 21 great ideas to double your income. 21 great ideas to live to be 100. 21 great ideas to be an outstanding manager. 21 great ideas to meet and marry the man or woman of your dreams. That's very popular. And I just did hundreds and hundreds of hours of research and wrote down all these one-liners. And people said just one-liner out of 21 changed their lives forever. So I'm very, very hungry. I've spent about 150,000 hours studying. I study all the time. Yesterday on my way up here from San Diego. My son lives in Las Vegas. I probably read 3.5 hours, plus 2 hours before leaving, and I'll do another 4 hours of reading today, as I just constantly taking in new information. Because one idea combined with your other ideas and with your opportunity here can transform your life forever. You just have to say, is this the idea? Is this the idea? So the first C is the C of clarity. Clarity is my favorite word in success. It's my favorite word in business. I have done consulting for more than 1,000 corporations, large companies worldwide, companies like IBM and General Motors and PepsiCo and Bank of America. I mean, big companies. And I've also worked with more than 10,000 small and medium-sized companies. And what I found is in every single situation, problems occur when the company becomes unclear about what it is they're doing or how it is they're doing it. And so I've developed a program, which is really just a fun program for me intellectually. It's called the 2-Day MBA. And it shows 10 different factors of a company. And these are the ones that I learned when I went to university, back to university in my 30s. And I find that all problems come from lack of clarity. What is your product? It's the first question you ask. Who is your customer? What does your customer consider to be more valuable than anything else? How are you superior to your competitors? What can you do to attract more customers? What can you do to close those customers? I'll come to this in a second, but basically it's clarity, lack of clarity. Now here's something else I learned, and they did a study of 50 owners of companies, successful owners of companies like yourselves. And they asked them, what is the very best time management or business tool that you've ever discovered? 49 out of the 50 held up a yellow writing pad. Yellow writing pad, sort of like this. And this is what they did. This is how they planned their day. They made a list, to-do list. Today's date, they wrote down everything they had to do. They always work from a list. Always work from a list. Always work from a list. If you don't work from a list, it's very much like taking your hands off the wheel of your car going down a winding road in the mountains. What happens is your life's going to go on and you're instantly going to start doing irrelevant and unimportant and useless things. And at the end of the day, you'll be exhausted and you'll have accomplished nothing. Now, I know this doesn't apply to anybody here. It does happen. And so therefore, clarity is really important.